Mired in toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Welcome, everyone, to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful, wonderful Friday. We're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m., so that means that you, the listener, can participate in the show. If you'd like, give us a call. Tell us what's on your mind. Participate in the discussion. Take me in a new direction. That's fine. Do whatever you want. As long as you don't say bad words, say whatever you want. All right, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or you can comment online. We are live on our Facebook page, A Free Solution, on our YouTube page, also A Free Solution, and on the Kevin Wilson pages too, broadcasting over there. Leave your comments, and if they're good, I'll read them out on the show. All right, so today, a couple different topics. I feel like I am now dedicated to talking about the masking thing. I hate talking about the masking thing, but you know the new CDC guidelines came out yesterday, and you know we got two things about this. So one, I am glad that the CDC has caught up to the science. Like everyone else, you know, we've talked about it in this show. Everyone else talked about, well, if you got a vaccine, wearing a mask is kind of silly, and that's why I said before. You know, you're immune. Very, very immune from COVID. You're very unlikely to spread COVID to other people, even if you are asymptomatic or you develop a symptomatic infection of COVID. You're just not likely to spread COVID to other people. And that was the whole purpose of the mask, right? Flatten the curve and wear a mask to protect others. Okay, cool. You know, but if you're vaccinated, like, you got that covered. And we've known for weeks now, months really, that the vaccines work. They're good. And when we talked about the last set of guidance that came out from the CDC, you know, I said that they were undermining their own cases for encouraging people to get the vaccine because, like, well, if you're going to have to wear a mask anyway, you know, what's the point? I mean, obviously it's to protect yourself and whatnot. There's good to getting the vaccine, but what's the point? You know, if you're going to be wearing a mask forever and ever, why? What's the urgency to get the vaccine? And now, all green lights, all green, you do whatever you want, free for all, if you're vaccinated. You know, that's, and so the other important thing to note about this CDC thing is it's all just a suggestion anyway. It's all just guidance, which is actually what I like governments to do, or at least I have less of a problem with governments doing. Just say, hey, these activities are, you know, relatively safe. These are relatively unsafe. This is in between. Here's the different risk factors. We're just giving you information. I'd rather see governments do that than do actual enforcement, which is what New York State is doing. So I don't like what New York State is doing. And we're going to talk how New York State is responding to this stuff in a few minutes. Unless it's been updated since I last read about it this morning. Not too happy with New York State on this. But although, when am I ever happy with New York State? I know they never do anything right. Goodness, we should think about getting a new governor. I don't know if you guys have thought about that, but I'm thinking we might want to swap him out for someone else next couple years. Just food for thought. Anywho, the masking thing. The CDC isn't really enforcing these rules on anyone. It's just suggestions. Now, do I like that taxpayer money is used to fund the CDC at all? No, I'm not crazy about that. I have a lot of criticism of the CDC. This is more benign than what New York State is doing, is my point on that. I would rather scientists, government or non-government, public health officials, whoever, tell people how they can evaluate risk in their own lives and respond accordingly rather than force you to do one thing or the other. So, you know, I had a few comments when I posted about this on my Facebook page that said, you know, this is tyranny. Okay. And, well, tyranny because they're saying unvaccinated people should still wear masks, and now we're separating vaccinated from unvaccinated people. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not forced. This is just a suggestion if you care about COVID safety, right? Like that's something. This mask puts two choices. And Joe Biden said you got two choices: wear a mask or get a vaccine. Okay, really, there's several choices here, and it's all based on context. And don't let people put you into a tiny little box. You ain't got to do that. Make decisions for yourself. Think for yourself. And again, don't respond to what the government's saying and immediately do the opposite or obey them immediately. My goodness, think for yourself, folks. But you got a couple choices here. You get vaccinated if you're worried about COVID-19 and you think that the very small risk of getting COVID is, of being hurt from COVID is worth getting the vaccine where there's a very small risk of a negative reaction. That was worth it to me, so I got it. Cool. It's worth it to many people in my family. For some, it's not. It's what it is. Make your own decision, right? That's a way that you can make sure you don't get sick and people around you don't get sick. Same thing I was saying a month ago. Unvaccinated people. If you are worried about spreading COVID to other people, you can wear a mask, and that helps a little bit. Not perfectly, helps a little bit. Tiny bit. Doesn't totally prevent that. And you have another choice, though. You could always say, I don't care about this. I am not interested in reducing the risk of the people around me. And so you don't want to wear a mask in any situation. Or you can go in between then, too. If you're unvaccinated, you can look at this and say, well, outdoors it's relatively safe. It's fine, even if I'm not vaccinated. Pretty unlikely that someone's going to get sick from me if I were to be sick, hypothetically, and not knew it with an asymptomatic infection. That's, an option, too. You can weigh what your personal risk is, what the risk is for you and your kids, too, because most kids still can't get a vaccine yet. It's, what do you do for your own kids if you are worried about them getting sick? Unless they're 12 and up, they can get the Pfizer one. But younger than that, if you're worried about them getting COVID, the risk is very low. Doesn't seem like most kids are getting sick or getting seriously sick. Luckily, it's one of the good things about, less bad things about this particular disease, unlike a lot of flu pandemics of the past that don't primarily affect children. So that's a small silver lining to an otherwise terrible situation. But what do? If you're worried about your kids getting sick or spreading it to the others, your own family has to make that evaluation for themselves. There doesn't seem to be a lot of infections coming from kids, masked or unmasked. It doesn't seem to be like a lot. That might change. We might learn something new. And I'm not a medical doctor giving you advice on this, but think for yourself on this. Read what the latest data is. If you're worried about your kids coming into contact with someone who is immunocompromised or can't get the vaccine or whatever, that may be a calculation you take into mind whether or not you're going to put a mask on your kid. And then all this stuff, all this put into context too. Something to keep in mind. In New York, when businesses require you to wear a mask, some of them want to do it because they want to keep their customers safe, or they want to build up the perception of safety. But a lot of them still have to do it per New York State rules. So something to keep in mind. There's a bunch of people harassing a local brewery that I happen to like that is right down the street from me, literally like a 3-minute bike ride. A bunch of people harassed them because they required you to wear a mask and they're being a bit snarky about it. They have to do that. Don't be a jerk to these businesses. They can get their licenses taken away. Don't be mad at these businesses. Be mad at New York State. When New York State pulls back all those rules and you don't like that the business is still requiring masks, okay, then, don't go there or say so, whatever, but they're private business, respect their rules, just don't patronize them. Or same thing with grocery stores, whatever. Right now, though, a lot of businesses, New York State still requires you to do it, and they have the power to destroy those businesses if they don't bend to the will of Governor Cuomo. I'm mad at Governor Cuomo. I'm not mad at those businesses for requiring me to wear a mask, even though I'm going to go in there and be like, I'm vaccinated. Why do I need to do this? This is silly. And a lot of them will be like, yeah, Kevin, I know that. You know that. Governor Cuomo probably knows that too. but he's still doing his power trip, and he can destroy my business if I don't bend the knee. And I get it. So not all businesses can afford to fight the state. Don't be mad at them because they can't afford to do that. I get it. I feel bad for them. Just if they say, hey, please wear masks so our businesses don't get hurt, don't be a jerk. If you respect the business owner, you respect the business, while it's still required for those industries where it is still required, don't be a jerk. They have it hard enough this time here. All right. So, this time because of COVID. All right. So that's all I got on that. That's all the updates on the CDC stuff. We'll talk about how New York State is responding to this in a bit. And again, if you have a comment, question, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. If you want to participate in the conversation, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
The Finger Lakes Castle team is in its 7th decade of factory direct service to the service professional. From cleaning the ins and outs of your vehicle to keeping you on the road, Castle's got you covered. Castle makes streak-proof glass cleaner, FDA-registered sanitizers, and EPA-registered hospital-grade disinfectants. Remember, when you need to keep it clean, use what the pros use. Castle. Accept no substitutes.
Castle keeps it clean.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
If you are upset by what we have done, be upset at me. County executive did not do this. The village mayor did not do this. The city mayor did not make these decisions. I made these decisions. It's not your local elected official. I know they caused disruption. I know people are upset. I know businesses will be hurt by this.
Well, there you have it, folks. Be mad at Governor Cuomo. There he is. He's telling you that. I mean, I always am. He keeps finding new reasons, too. It's not even the same thing. It's always new reasons. good reasons to be mad at Governor Cuomo. And let me read off a couple comments that came in online too. Tim O'Connor's saying, pretty mad at Cuomo as usual. It's about the masking issue. And he asked if I had anyone in particular in mind for governor. I mean, I would love to see my guy Larry run again, but who knows if he is. We'll see. We'll see what he's going to do about that. And yeah, so far there's only one Republican who's jumped in that race too. Rob Astorino ran in 2014, lost then too. So see if he does any better this time around, or if there's going to be a primary for that spot. He's starting pretty soon. Garrett Kane says, I'll never understand why some county leaders didn't nullify these crazy mandates like they did with the SAFE Act. I'm like, that's fair. I think a lot of, particularly over the last year, a lot of people wanted to be cautious. They didn't want to be the ones to say initially that they would lift any lockdowns without state permission. I mean, legally, it's a bit of a gray area. In the same way that the SAFE Act nullification stuff is a bit tough, or non-enforcement stuff even is a bit tough. They could have done resolutions saying they disagreed with the mandates. Everyone wanted to be cautious. They didn't want to be the ones who would open things up, have a bunch of infections happening in the area, and then lose their spot. So Gary, it's the same thing I talk about with politicians all the time, is that they defer on the side of taking action that would result in 100% safety, even if it means destroying our liberty and destroying our economy. That they will be punished more by your average voter for doing nothing or for taking away a government action than they will for doing it in the first place. Most people say, well, at least they're trying to do something. Now, you and I and most of the listeners of the show don't think that way, but there's a lot of voters who still do. And so there's a lot of education that needs to happen to do that. And, to the credit of the people where I live in Monroe County, they did, Adam Bello, the executive, and the public health director, or commissioner of public health, Mike Mendoza, did put out a statement yesterday saying New York State should follow the CDC masking guidance, and that they should, remove the mask mandate so people who are vaccinated can kind of do whatever they want, and that doing so would encourage more people to get vaccinated, which, again, something I was saying and a lot of other people were saying a month ago. So that's good. I agree with them there. Like, okay, that's a smart thing. He's, following the science a bit late, but that's a good thing. They don't really have much power to do much about that, because Governor Cuomo exercises so much power over how public health is administered in this state. So even when they do the right thing here, and I think they are in this case, advocating for adopting the CDC guidelines, which are better than what we have now, removing the mask mandates would be a good thing. But they are unable to do that. And you go read the comments and the tweets from this, and like the Democrats, there's some like liberty-minded folks who are saying, okay, good, this is a good thing. You should have done this before, whatever. But there are Democrats who are still terrified of this. They're roasting the guy for it. They're saying like, oh no, we're gonna have a huge outbreak of COVID if you let people who are vaccinated, walk around without wearing a mask. Guys, are you paying attention? Do you understand what's going on? Like, this isn't even about like masking anymore. It's about like the Democrats are just trying to virtue signal that they're not Republican. Like, it's just a whole thing where they're trying to show like, well, masks prove to me that I am concerned with everyone's safety. And if we start taking them off, I'm going to feel bad about it. And Rachel Maddow had this, like, the MSNBC anchor had this, like, weird rant about it, too, how she had to, like, stop being angry when she saw someone who was unmasked on the street because she assumed that they were, like, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but basically like a Trump supporter who is a COVID denialist and doesn't, care about the safety of others, and who represents an active danger to them. Like, that's, man, like, Democrats, you need to break out of this mindset. That's unhealthy. It's not good either. It's weird. Like, that's the whole point, the whole selling point of vaccines, getting life back to some semblance of normal. So again, it's very frustrating to see Governor Cuomo take that side to say, we're not going to follow the latest science. We're not going to follow what we know now. We can now prove the safety and effectiveness of vaccines, both for self-protection and spread of others. And we're not going to look at what the science is. We're going to maintain control. We're going to keep punishing businesses and the people of New York and maintain these masks. And unless that's changed in the last hour, because I haven't looked at it in the last few minutes, they're going to keep all that stuff into place. Why? Why? What's the point anymore? I don't understand why we need to keep these mandates in place. Again, this should always be about you evaluating the personal risk to yourself and the people around you. And if we move ahead with allowing people the freedom to do that, I think they'll make better decisions. Again, if we tell people, if you get vaccinated, it has these benefits, you put fewer people at risk, it's a good thing. If you don't, here's what you should do, but I don't think you should enforce it. That's, again, the same position that I've had for the entirety of the last year. Been saying. People keep trying to tell me that I'm pro-mask mandate, pro-vaccines, whatever. Or when I'm talking to a lefty, they say, I'm a crazy anti-masker or whatever. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? It's always been about freedom. It's always been about understanding what your choices are and trusting that people will make the right decisions if you arm them with information and you act in good faith. And what's interesting about the CDC thing, too, is it's actually a guy, what do we call him? He's like a statistician, I guess. Nate Silver is talking about how he thought the CDC waited so long to do this because they were worried that anti-masker, anti-vaxxer folks would just declare this a free-for-all after, they said this. And so they wanted to wait a little while to make that happen. I hope that wasn't the reason. Legitimately, what if they are telling another noble lie? If they waited not because they had a good justification for moving forward with this, but because they felt like they needed to misrepresent the actual risk of wearing a mask versus not wearing a mask because people couldn't handle the truth, that further erodes trust in public health. And we're seeing that. There's a poll that just came out recently that about half of Americans actually trust what the CDC says. And even fewer trust other agencies like the FDA. Why is public trust eroding? And these public health institutions, these people that are in theory supposed to be looking out for our best interests, being apolitical, but they're going out and they're putting stuff out, not based on the science, not telling us how it is, not telling us what the actual risk is, but instead doing it based on, we will tell them lies or misrepresent the truth because they can't handle it. That erodes trust. That is incredibly dangerous. The people who have been running these organizations, public health agencies, at every level of government, who have engaged in that type of behavior, who have misrepresented the actual risk associated with COVID in either direction for political reasons or because they didn't feel like the public could handle it, they're doing themselves a disservice, they're doing the public a disservice, they're doing their profession a disservice. And we're seeing that reflected in the polling on public health. I'm excluding people like me, the libertarians who are always skeptical of government public health resources. I would like to think that they are telling the truth most of the time. I would like to think that they're apolitical. But I know that how government works, how bureaucracy works, is that it's inherently political. So no, I don't trust these institutions either because I recognize what it is. You need to think for yourself. You need to parse the truth. You need to look at what the base evidence that they're saying is. So for the same reason I said that the CDC guidelines a month ago on masking were nonsense and undermined their own case, I hope that they weren't issuing these later than they could have for the same stupid reason they issued the mask guidance back in February 2020 saying we shouldn't get masks. Hopefully it wasn't anything to do with that. All right, so thanks again for joining us here on The Free Solution. If you want to participate in the show, give us a call, 585-346-3000, or leave your comments online on a Free Solution YouTube page or a Free Solution on Facebook. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
brand new Dan Bongino Show, coming May 24th. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll have nice clear skies out there. We'll turn a little chilly overnight, back down into the 40s and low 50s, but not as cold as the last couple of nights. On Saturday, a good-looking day, sunshine mixing with a few fair weather clouds. Just a tiny chance of a spot shower in the Finger Lakes, but dry in Rochester. The high near 70, cooler by the lake, and we'll have the exact same forecast on Sunday with nice weather. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Spring is here, and even warmer weather's finally on the way. To get the best out of summer, think Springwater Amish Workshop, helping you enhance your outdoor spaces. Springwater Amish Workshop has just received a new shipment of double kiln-dried, organically pressure-treated lawn and deck furniture. Gliders, folding Adirondack chairs, picnic tables, and benches will spruce up your lawn for family celebrations and get-togethers. Springwater Amish Workshop has all the decorative touches to make your yard distinctive, including wishing wells, lighthouses, windmills, and footbridges. Gazebo time is here. And of course, they specialize in storage buildings in the size you want, painted the colors you want, and placed just where you need it. Get the best quality, best warranty, best service, best selection. Get yours ordered today to avoid delay. Springwater Amish Workshop, 7936 Route 15 in Springwater. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Visit SpringwaterAmishWorkshop.com or visit them on Facebook. Call 585-669-9710.
For the senior in your family, consider Alpine Manor, founded in 1971 by owner Tim Kinsella, nestled in the picturesque rolling hills east of 390 in Livingston County, just 20 minutes from Rochester. At Alpine Manor, their pride is personalized care for seniors who are not yet ready for a nursing home. If your senior shows symptoms of confusion, forgetfulness, or memory loss, Alpine Manor could provide an excellent option. There are supervised activities and medications, full laundry and housekeeping services, 3 dietary-approved home-cooked meals, and a bedtime snack, all provided in immaculate surroundings. Now, visitors are always welcome at Alpine Manor with an appointment. All staff and residents have received both doses of COVID vaccine. Be confident that your loved one is safe and secure, and you'll be able to visit and connect. Keep the golden years carefree years at Alpine Manor, New York State Health Department licensed. Call 346-5880. That's 346-5880 for a no-obligation tour or information, or visit alpinemanor.com.
Dad, I can't believe this is our 10th year open at Colby's Ice Cream and Bake Shop in Rush.
We have made so many people happy over the years.
This year, we have 2 new flavors, Midnight Peanut Butter Marshmallow and Salted Caramel Brownie, along with 34 other great flavors of Hershey's ice cream.
Don't forget Colby's Fresh Baked Pies, just $6. And stop by for a loaf of our new beer bread.
It's finally spring. Come get an ice cream and a pie at Colby's in Rush, corner 251 and 15 or exit 11 on 390 South. We're now open. Come out to Colby's.
Dear Ray, letting you know your team was amazing. Your scheduling to installation, Isaac made it easy. We really appreciate
the peace of mind that Isaac provides. Hearing from satisfied clients is so important at Isaac. Like this one. Highly recommend Isaac. New AC unit working flawlessly. This spring, get the peace of mind that you'll be cool when the summer heats up. Right now, get a Lennox air conditioner with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Isaac makes it easy. Visit IsaacHeating.com today.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop specializing in pre-owned firearms and repairs. Get your rifle, shotgun, or pistol serviced and tuned before you take it to the field. Open Tuesday through Saturday. Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, East Main Street, next to the Bank of Castile.
Dispatch Custom Milling in East Rochester carries metal or steel cutting blades, Lennox, Sterling, and MK Morse bandsaw blades from 1/4 inch wide to 2 inches wide, with many in stock. Sharpening service available. Visit dispatchcustommilling.com.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live here on WYSL until 1 p.m., which means that you can give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And talk on there, or leave a message to our producer. That's always something you can do too, or leave your comments online. I'm going to get to both of those in just a second, but first, shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in the Southern Tier. Appreciate y'all listening there as well. Thank you for being here. All right, so we'll get to a phone call one first. So we had Jody from Hilton who called in and said that the vaccine isn't a traditional vaccine; it's an mRNA vaccine. That's true. Yeah. So the Moderna and the Pfizer ones are mRNA vaccines, and again, take it for what it is. I'm not a scientist. I just read about this stuff online, and I had it explained to me by a scientist in a bar. So take that for what it is. But basically, it takes like the instructions that like DNA would normally produce to make things like proteins or do other functions of the cells, and it wraps those in like a lipid, some sort of fat, and delivers those to your body's like muscle cells. And it just takes the instructions. It never enters the nucleus, doesn't change the DNA or anything. Takes the instructions, your cells get those, and they say, oh, well, we've got these instructions here telling us to make this protein. Guess we better make this protein. So they do. And so that protein that they make kind of looks like part of the COVID virus, and your body reacts to that and starts making like antibodies and other types of immune responses to say, okay, next time we see this protein, we're gonna make sure we shut this down. And so that's why the second vaccine that you get, when your body starts producing more of these proteins again, your body kind of freaks out a little bit and says, oh, we better do something about this. And so you're sore and you get the chills and fevers and whatnot. And so it's your body trying to react to all these proteins showing up that it decided shouldn't be there. And then the Johnson & Johnson one works a bit differently. They use like a different type of virus that goes in and injects those same instructions into your cells. And same thing, it produces things that look like part of the COVID virus. And so that's how it all works. So I find this stuff neat, actually. I think like the mRNA stuff is super cool. But I love embracing new technology, that type of stuff. It doesn't make me nervous. There's tons of possibilities for cancer treatments, for autoimmune treatments. Some cool stuff you can do with this. The big barrier, they've been working on mRNA for decades, but the big barrier was always how do you get the RNA, the messenger RNA, the mRNA, to survive going into these cells, because most of the time it gets destroyed before it can actually go and enter the cells and carry out the instructions. So to me, this stuff's cool as heck. I'm interested to see how this will be applied to other vaccines or treatments in the future. If it seems like it is successful so far. So what do we do next with this? And how do we make sure that the government isn't going to overregulate this? And there's interesting things going on. Like once this works, we know this works and we can deliver it this way. There's a possibility that vaccines will come out even quicker, because it's, a new platform for people to be able to say, okay, we can just take this little genome and we can rip out part of that genome and tell the cells to produce a little protein, and then that may provide immunity. So instead of vaccines taking years and years and years, you will eventually see more of those turn around quicker if this mRNA stuff works, and they just test more people at once. They just go through phase 2 and 3 of the vaccine testing a lot quicker. So anyway, that's Jody. I appreciate the call about that. Yeah, I like talking about that. So one day I should have an actual scientist on here to talk about how that works, because this is, again, me repeating what was told to me in a bar by an actual scientist, and plus stuff I've read online explaining how this stuff works. Because I think it's cool, but it is a bit different than what you normally see in a vaccine. And you also got interesting stuff going on with this stuff too, with the patents, because there's a big pressure to release the patents for Pfizer and Moderna, who make these mRNA vaccines. But the only problem with those is that, like, you can look at this information, you can understand it, but it's a new process, so there's not a lot of scientists who can take the information from releasing these patents and just like spin up a new mRNA vaccine factory in China. Like, it's not how it works. You can't just do that. There's limited knowledge because it's a new process. So releasing the patents for this probably isn't going to result in all that many new factories for these vaccines popping up. It's not going to immediately impact the supply. Maybe in the future, but for now, it's not really a thing. Anywho, so other comments. We got another one from Tim, who says on our Facebook page, who says we're ruled by children who want us to be infants. And yeah, that's I think that's a good way of putting it, Tim. And he said that we're living that right now. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how I feel every time Governor Cuomo tries to, be. I was gonna say Daddy Cuomo. That sounds wrong though. But he's trying to be Father Cuomo, who's taking care of us, making sure let's say, holding us in his warm embrace or something. But no one wants that with Governor Cuomo either. He's gotten in trouble for that stuff too. Is there a good way to phrase this? My goodness. No, but Governor Cuomo is for sure paternalistic. He thinks that he knows the answers. He thinks he is able to come up with all the solutions and then micromanage the economy and lives of people in New York State. And that's one of the most dangerous sentiments that we can have in a politician, because they think they know what's best for us. But Governor Cuomo doesn't know what's best for me or for you or for anyone listening on this station. He has no idea, because our lives are more complicated than that. We are individuals who have our own dynamics with our families, our communities, our jobs, etc. So he doesn't know what the long-reaching impacts are of shutting down the economy, of saying that certain types of jobs are essential or not essential, or even making decisions for us like who needs to wear a mask. You could say that there's a case for that a year ago. So I didn't agree with the mandates even a year ago, but you could make a stronger case then for mask mandates when there's no vaccine available and we don't know much about the virus. But now that we know more, we learn, we evolve. Governor Cuomo doesn't need to mandate everything. He doesn't need to control our lives anymore. It doesn't need to happen this way. I was actually planning on talking about something totally different this segment, and I got off on all these tangents. So we'll see if I have enough time to talk about what I want to talk about next segment. But since I only have a few minutes left, I talked, I think, last week about using passive voice in headlines, and something to watch out for. You can't not see it. Once you start seeing it everywhere, you can't not see it. And actually, you saw it with the police shooting in Rochester recently. And kudos to WHEC, who actually said the right thing. They use active voice. Police shoot and kill man on Gloucester Street. Use active voice to say who did the action, what happened. It's not condemning the police or saying the police did something wrong necessarily. It's just saying what it is, as compared to other stations that listed headlines like "Man dead after officer-involved shooting" or "Suspect shot and killed." What? That's suspect shot and killed on Gloucester Street. Suspect in what? What was he accused of? What's happening? Who killed him? Passive voice in headlines. When you start to see that stuff, officer-involved shooting, they put the who did the shooting at the end of the sentence. Watch out. They do that with police and other government officials all the time. It takes blame away from them. That's what they're trying to do. And so just say what the headline is. Like, do better on that. one more comment online. I think the whole issue with teachers' unions and the CDC recently caused further distrust in the consistency of the messaging, and that's from Jericho Banker. Thanks for your comment, Jericho. Yeah, we talked about that last week, too. Again, is the CDC responding to the science on the ground, or are they responding to the political influence of the National Teachers Union? I think there was the American Federation of Teachers who had met with them. What are they responding to? What does the science say versus what does this politically influential organization say? Yes, when you see stuff like that, it undermines trust. Again, the CDC, 52% of people have a great deal of trust in them. With the FDA, 37% of people have a great deal of trust in them. I'm trying to share the link online. So for those of you listening out on the Radio Land, I'll share the link to that survey in the comments. If you go to A Free Solution, make sure you like that page, follow what we're doing there, catch all the shows from both me and Larry Sharp, so check those out. All right, I think that's all we got for this segment. And again, if you want to participate in the show, we got one more segment here live on WYSL until 1 o'clock. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, "He is my refuge and my fortress, for he will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease."
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in New York and WENY, the Patriot down in Southern Tier, for listening today, too. We're live here on WYSL for the next 10 minutes or so. Give us a call, 585-346-3000 if you want to participate in this discussion. I meant to spend the whole second half of the show on this, but I always love getting those calls and comments. Send me off in a new direction, so appreciate y'all giving us a call and commenting online on that type of stuff. So I want to spend the whole half of the show talking about the Israeli-Palestine conflict, and let's see if I can get it done in this 10-minute segment here. The conflict that pops up every few years between Israel and Palestinians always ends up in American politics getting caught up in this kind of weird quasi-partisan conversation, right? And as I'm reading through this, I want to separate that. I want to kind of look above. I used to be one of those guys who was always like, Israel is good no matter what. The American government should do whatever we can to protect Israel. They're, the one kind of country in that region standing up to, the growing threat of theocratic Islamic states, and I mean that like in the not the ISIS sense, but like in the sense that there's a Islamist theocracy being enforced in several states in the region. The thing is, though, as I kind of look at this a bit more, I'm trying to separate out, am I being objective here? Is this making sense? Is what Israel is doing always in self-defense, or is there a deeper root to these conflicts? And the fact of the matter is that, and then you got the other side of that, right? So I used to be on that side. I'm not so much on that anymore. I think it's a little bit more complicated now. And then there's the folks, my news feed is also filled with lefties, because I love seeing what they have to say too, and they're just like, Israel is they're basically comparing them to the Nazis, which is an interesting comparison. They are, monsters, colonialists, doing all these terrible things, and there's some level of truth to that. However, and I don't want to both sides this, but also keep in mind who the belligerents are on the other side of this. Like the group Hamas is not a good organization. They are not a moral organization. They are an outgrowth, a response in part to legitimate injustices that have happened at the hands of the Israeli government, funded by the U.S. government. But they're not a good organization, and they're clearly committed to the total destruction of the Israeli state. So I want to throw out a couple things here. Again, the criticism of Israel, too, it ends up also getting caught up in these other weird criticisms of, like, people say, well, if you're criticizing Israel, it's just rooted in anti-Semitism and you're standing with Hamas. No, that's not that. Like, I think Israel is a government made up of imperfect people in the same way that the United States or New York is a government made up of imperfect people. They make good decisions. They make bad decisions. A criticism of the Israeli government is not the same as being anti-Jewish, which is what the accusation, being anti-Semitic, that's what the accusation often ends up being. No, it's not the same. We can criticize the Israeli government and not be anti-Semitic. Now, criticism of the Israeli government absolutely can be really nasty and ugly and anti-Semitic, but they're not necessarily the case. I don't like the fact that the U.S. sends a bunch of foreign aid over there. I get why they've done it. I get why there are historical reasons for doing that, because the United States wanted leverage in that region, and Israel seemed the best route for doing that. I don't like sending foreign aid anywhere, though. I wish we would stop. It also means that U.S. taxpayers are complicit when the Israeli government does something wrong, when they repress the rights of Palestinians living in Israeli-occupied territory and use the police against them in an unfair and unjust way, or send rocket attacks or Israeli Defense Forces, IDF soldiers, to attack people and end up killing civilians in that process. And I know, Hamas uses their civilians as human shields sometimes. It's a terrible thing. It doesn't excuse how many Palestinians have died because of that. Again, Hamas does nasty stuff. Not defending those guys, not defending Palestinians as a whole. I get what their grievances are, though. And I get that if you're living in that situation for decades and decades and you feel powerless against a government that you feel is colonizing you, that radicalizes someone. It makes them start to think the only way to do that, to fight back, I can't protest in the street. I can't vote because, in part, in some places because of the Israeli government, in some places because the Palestinian Authority doesn't let them. It's difficult. They don't hold elections as often as they should. But when I look at the situation, I see both a long history with a lot of bad blood that is very difficult to pull apart, and what I would like to see the U.S. do most of the time is butt out, is to stop sending money, to stop, taking a side, to be more neutral in this and say, how do we solve the problem? And it's not just bomb, Gaza into oblivion. It's not, it's not occupying the West Bank forever and ever. It's not repressing East Jerusalem. It's not that isn't the only solution to do this, is to totally take their side. We need to be concerned about the human rights violations that are happening on both ends of this. And so American politics ends up falling into these like two radical camps that can no longer see what's going on in the broader picture and how to move ahead with those discussions. And again, it's not just taking one side or the other. It's it's weird because I see Republicans saying like Joe Biden's taking the side of Hamas. No, he's not. He's actually more taking the side of Israel. That's generally what he does. But we also have given a bunch of aid to Palestinians and whatnot. It's again, a bunch of our money ends up going over there without actually solving the problems. And so I'm going to keep looking at this issue. I want, again, I had a whole other half of the show that I don't feel like I have time to get into now. But I am thinking about foreign policy, what Americans' role are in this, and how we get involved. Generally, I don't think we should. But I think we, I, as someone who is looking at how Republicans, Democrats, policymakers are looking to participate in this conflict, I think it's important for us to understand what's happening here and to start to put pressure on in the only way that we can, and it's hard because this is something that takes place mostly in the executive branch. We don't have much say over this. We're just gonna fight amongst ourselves in the United States and on Twitter. But like what actually happens with this stuff going on overseas is something costing us a lot. It implicates Americans in the bad stuff that the Israeli government does do, and it's not good. We need to elect. I would love to elect libertarian presidents who say no. We're gonna stay out of these conflicts. We're not gonna go here anymore. Jericho says recent conflicts only further radicalized and finding could once again cause that extremism to turn to America. Funding them could, there's the concept of blowback, right? Like that's if the American government is participating in this, and people think, well, the only way to fight back against this is to strike Americans. Yeah, that's a legitimate, not legitimate. That is a possible consequence of American intervention. Is we see terrorism impacting us here. And, that's something else. I'll spend another show digging into that. Tim says, go 2 hours. Nah, I ain't got 2 hours, Tim. Appreciate the sentiment, though. All right, so that's it for today. We're going to be out for today, but we'll be back on Monday. Talk to you then. Have a wonderful weekend, folks.
At Victor Chevrolet, we